Hi, this is Josh Trout, artist for Tops, and you are listening to the Rebel Base Card Podcast. Great pull, kid.
We still have 50 Star Wars baseball card collections left.
And that includes the Chewbacca if he played for the Brewers card.
That is lovely.
He's a second baseman there.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's a good-looking card.
That's a winner.
Everything's gonna be all right, kid.
You found the Rebel Base Card Podcast.
She may not look like much, but she's got it where it counts, kid.
I'm your host, Greg McLaughlin.
Have I made a few bad decisions? Sure.
We talk about cards, collecting Star Wars, and to people in the Star Wars community.
Don't worry, we're gonna meet up with some friends of mine.
Look for special episodes called The Breakfast Pack, talking about your favorite Star Wars shows.
We will never have a better chance than this.
All right, let's get started.
Well, perhaps it is time to begin again.
Welcome back, or if this is your first episode, welcome aboard. My name is Greg McLaughlin, and this is the Rebel Base Card Podcast. And this could have been a very different podcast about 24 hours ago, but we just got word today that Topps is going to release the 2024 Star Wars Chrome in August, making it really, I would say, the first, I can't say the first release. So the first release of Topps Star Wars cards this year was in May, and that was the Chrome Sapphire Phantom Menace, kind of tied into the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. But I would say that this announcement and this release would really be the first, I would say, regular release of cards for 2024. And as I'm recording this is Sunday, July 21st. On the program later here in a bit, I will have collector David Dickson on. I talked to him just last week, and we were talking not knowing that there was going to be a release. We knew that there were going to be releases, but nothing was announced as of yet. And we were kind of like talking about what we were interested in seeing, the different releases that we thought were going to come out, and how we might attack it. So whereas this release announcement changes a little bit of it, but I would say that most of the spirit of the interview is really us trying to figure out what's coming up and how we're going to collect it, if we're going to collect it. So it's a very good time as the Acolyte is kind of coming to a close. Greg Cass and I from Ion Cannon, we're going to do our show on Tuesday, I believe, for episode 8, and then get that out. So there's going to be 2 episodes this week. Plus, if I get any audio, The National is coming out starting later on this week. I'll be going down there on Friday. I think I'll be down there for a day in Cleveland at the IX Center. And so there might be some more audio coming from that. I am not sure. But I do know that there's this episode, and there's the Breakfast Pack. And then, we kind of go forward. It's kind of an interesting transition as we come out of the Acolyte and into the second half of the year, and what would potentially be the beginning of probably a number of releases between now and then. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back after the break. We're going to break down what's going to be in this 2024 Topps Star Wars Chrome release, and then we're going to get to my interview with David Dickson. Hang tight, I'll be right back.
This is Ian Taylor of the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast, and you're listening to the Rebel Base Card Podcast. Great pull, kid.
All right, strap in. So we're going to go over the 2024 Topps Star Wars Chrome breakdown, and they're going to come basically in 3 forms. You're going to have the hobby box, which is going to be basically about 120, 119, 95, 99 if you want to split hairs. You're going to have the case, and then you're going to have the blaster box. And where you're getting the blaster box may surprise you. Yes, that sounds like a trolling comment, but I was certainly surprised when I saw where the blaster boxes right now are coming from. All right, so at any rate, the Topps Star Wars Chrome is going to be a pretty chunky set. This is 150 base cards, which is a little different for a Star Wars release. We know that typically they would be in about 100. If you had, like Holocron, those were like 200. If you think about it, if the baseball series, Topps flagship one, those are like 350 per series. So, non-sports and Star Wars generally are smaller base sets. However, there are a number of inserts in this set that'll make it interesting regardless of whatever you're buying, whether you're buying a blaster box, whether you're buying a hobby box, whether you're buying a case. All right. So the hobby boxes themselves, these are going to be 10 packs per box. 10 cards per pack, and they are purported to have 4 sequentially numbered parallels and 1 auto guaranteed per box. That's not to say you won't find something else in it, and we'll get to that in a bit. The cases are going to have 8 boxes per case of those hobby box. The blasters, a little different than we have seen in the past. These are basically going to be 8 packs per box, only 5 cards per pack, and some exclusive parallels that I see. I'm going to call them exclusive because I've seen this with the Marvel side, and of course with previous blasters where there's some things you can only find in those type of sealings. So they have 4 base character red cards and a Ray Wave Refractor that to me looks like it's exclusive to the blaster boxes. Also, the blaster boxes seem to have gotten a bit of a price hike. They were running usually around $20. I'm seeing them listed for $24.99. And of all places, GameStop. I'll repeat that, GameStop. GameStop is where you're going to be able to now pre-order both the hobby boxes and the blaster boxes. Now, right now, GameStop and Steel City Collectibles, which I hope to see them on the National, they're one of many people that are going to be down there. Steel City is also having pre-orders. For right now, you can get the hobby box for $119.95. They're also selling the cases, but they don't have the prices up for the cases as of yet. I feel that those cases are probably going to go for under $1,000 if you kind of do the math. I would say probably, let's just say for argument's sake, about $800-900 a case. Just to kind of throw a price out there. All right, so once again, we have hobby boxes that are running right now. If you want to do pre-orders as of today, $119 through either Steel City or GameStop. Now, if you have a GameStop like Pro membership, you can actually get those hobby boxes for $113.99. And if you're a GameStop, if you're a Pro, you can also get the blaster. You can also get the blasters for $23.74. Now, I've also seen David Adams Card World also, I think, kind of start to advertise the cases and hobby boxes. I haven't really seen anywhere where you can kind of go to buy it. And I do want to say that Blowout Cards does have a pre-order up for the top Star Wars Chrome hobby boxes, and I think they'll probably be doing the same for the cases. So kind of what I would normally expect. I would also expect that Chicagoland Sports Cards would also be doing pre-orders at some point soon. All right, as I kind of go through and get my list up once again, it's a big set. And I say that not only because the base has 150 cards in it, but also because the number of parallels. What makes it interesting is, and I see in the sort of the Topps sell sheet for it, they'll have characters in there. There's no checklist yet, but there are characters in there that haven't gotten on a card yet. And as we know, because we haven't really seen an Ahsoka set, or even anything from on the Acolyte, I don't know whether there'd be any Acolyte in there, but I would expect some Ahsoka cards on there, especially because you see Ahsoka on some of the cover art for it, for this release. At any rate, let's go over the base set parallels. There are some new colors. They got some cute names, and then we also have some new medallion debuts. I'm not always excited about medallions, but there you go. So let's talk about the base set parallels. You have the Rainbow Refractor, which is 1 every 2 packs, or 1 out of 2. You have a numbered Camino Aqua Refractor. These are numbered to 199. Skywalker Blue, numbered to 150. Kashyyyk Green, numbered to 99. Gold, numbered to 50. Rebel Orange, numbered to 25. Mustafar Lava, numbered to 10. Dathomir Red, numbered to 5. And then the 101 Superfractor. Also, interestingly enough, and I think I kind of like this, there are the super rare, they say 101 printing plate, but they say printing plate book cards. So maybe a nicer little presentation of the printing plates, which may make them quite a nice chase. A printing plate generally is, you'll see it, is the curved, because it would cut you to death if you tried to hold it. So these are, the cyan, blue, magenta, black, the metallic sheets used to print the cards. And I've yet to pull one. I have a couple. They are, to me, one of my favorite chases outside of sketches. But I like the fact that there might be a little presentation, and they're always one of one. So that's interesting. So we also have short prints. And on the cell sheet, you see these parallels that have Arabic on them. So the person's name and things like that are done in Arabic, which I thought was pretty cool. And those are numbered to 99. And then they also have gold refractors numbered to 50, Rebel Orange to 25, Mustafar Lava, I have a hard time saying that one, numbered to 10, Dathomir Red to 5, and then the Superfractor. There is also an Hoth Ice Blue Frozen Fractor, super short prints, and these are numbered to 5. They're saying this is rather new. All right.
Hi, this is Femi Taylor. I play Ula in Return of the Jedi, Jabba the Hutt's slave dancer. You're listening to the Rebel Base Card Podcast.
We have a bunch of insert sets. The last couple of years, I've seen more and more inserts, but we've also really kind of seen a lot more emphasis, a lot more interest from collectors in on the parallels and the numbered ones, and getting those things graded. So this doesn't surprise me, but it does make it a little harder to chase. So on the insert parallels, we have Kashyyyk Greens to 99, Golds to 50, Rebel Orange to 25, Mustafar, Dathomir, Superfractor. Those are the same there. But so the insert sets, we have Galactic Gear, sorry. These are 1 out of every 10, and these feature characters dressed in the galaxy's most fashionable uniforms, armor, and outfits. That's the byline. That's not my interpretation of it. We have the Rise of Palpatine. Those are 1 out of every 5. And featuring the rise of Senator Palpatine as Supreme Chancellor to Emperor Palpatine. We have the Heiress. This is 1 out of 6, highlighting Bo-Katan Kryze and her adventures throughout the galaxy. That's a nice little set there. The Galactic Civil War. It's 1 out of every 8, collecting 9 cards of the Rebel Alliance and 9 cards of the Galactic Empire to reveal the backgrounds. Sounds like a puzzle, perhaps. Interesting. Also an interesting chase. There is the I Love You, I Know, numbered to 99. So separate I Love You and I Know cards, each highlighting a moment from the Han Solo, Leia Organa love story. And they have gold refractors to 50, Rebel Oranges to 25, Mustafar Lavas to 10, Dathomir to 5, and then Superfractors 101. We have Starship Blueprints. This is a limited new one, highlighting starfighters in the galaxy on a Shadowbox Tech. On Shadowbox Tech. Sorry, this is like trying to read a line of script from George Lucas. They have gold refractors to 50, Rebel Orange to 25, Mustafar to 10, Dathomir to 5, and Platinum numbered 1 to 1. All right, we have bonus stage, and I saw this on the top sell sheet that was posted by Steel City. Had, I think, the full sell sheet. So do most folks who will be telling you this. You'll get to see some of these. Bonus stage. Keep an eye out for a secret bonus stage card available in super limited quantities. The one that was on the sell sheet had Ezra Bridger from Rebels on it, and it looked kind of nice. I like the design of that. We also have the extremely limited reflections, and this is incredible art giving collectors a reflective view in the eyes of some popular Star Wars characters. Interesting. I kind of like this. Kind of remember when we saw, what was it in was it the final season of the Clone Wars, where you kind of had, that reflection in Darth Vader's eyes, that kind of thing, when he was looking at the crashed ship and the little the helmet and whatnot. But that's an interesting concept for an insert. And then those were the inserts that were announced. We also have, of course, autographed parallels, and they say look out for the new debut medallion cards. We have Camino Aqua refractors, and these are like the parallels for autographs. Number to 199, Skywalker blue refractors to 150, Kashyyyk green to 99, Gold to 50, Rebel Orange to 25, Mustafar Lava to 10. I think it's probably the only way you're going to tell the difference between the Mustafar Lava and the Dathomir is the Dathomir Red is numbered to 5. Superfractors 1 of 1. So amazing to pull one of those 1 of 1 Superfractor autos. That'd be very, very nice. We also have dual and triple autographs. For the duals and triples, they have the Dathomir Reds to 5 and the Superfractors 1 of 1. And then at the bottom, at the very bottom, announced. But yes, there are sketch cards, and these are touted as original 101 art cards. So that is a very lengthy checklist of cards and inserts that you'll find in there. So it'll be interesting when you think about the breakdowns of what you're going to get in a box. Once again, they have saying on the box that you're going to get 4 numbered parallels and an auto per box for Hobby Box. I don't see on the blaster, since I only see like part of the blaster box, I don't know what the odds are for the pulls on the blaster, whether or not you're going to see like autos in there, or later on if you're going to see, like sometimes Topps puts this up where they put the odds for, for this and that, or these different parallels. If you think about it, for a pack of 10, if you're getting a hobby box and you get a pack of 10, I would expect to see 4, 5, 6 base, and then the rest, handful of parallels. So it'll be interesting if you get a hobby box, how much of that base set you're going to get. You're going to get an auto, and then what's going to be the, in some of these, you're going to see some more of the common inserts. And as you can see in the odds that I just gave you, some of these, it looks like if I look like, say for example, the Rise of Palpatine, Galactic Gear, that's 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10. The Heiress, 1 out of 6. Galactic Civil War, 1 out of 8. I Love You, I Know is going to be a tighter one to get. Starship Blueprints, bonus stage. Those are going to be very, very hard to get. It looks like you'll probably get on the base side parallels. You'll probably get that Rainbow Refractor. You'll probably get quite a few of those. And then once again, you've got a lot of different number ones you could get. So it's going to be interesting to see what you chase. But that is the breakdown of the 2024 Topps Star Wars Chrome.
Stay on target. We're too close. Stay on target.
Hey, folks, this is Ro from the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, where it's always sunny on Scarif, and you are listening to the Rebel Base Card podcast. Great pull, kid.
All right, so David Dickson is on the program. He is on Instagram at Star Wars Card Crazy, and he does some really cool carousels where he talks to new collectors and old about different topics, but it's a very nice way to do some education and to help new collectors. And since the pandemic, we had a lot of folks jump into the hobby. I absolutely love these carousels because they kind of, they flow really well, and there's a lot of great information that's out there without necessarily beating you over the head with it. We had him on for the Galaxy anniversary show, but once I was kind of like trying to figure out, like, all right, as we kind of transition back in, I wanted to talk about what might be upcoming, and of course this was done right before the announcement, but also about what was going on in the meantime, and when things would be announced, what would be a way to attack it. This is a nice conversation about, what to collect, when to collect, and maybe how to do it, and then what happens in between, and especially some strategies for folks who are going to be hit with a lot of releases, I think, between now and the end of the year. So how do you kind of balance all that? This is a great interview. It's a great time to do it, especially with the announcement of the 24 Chrome. So hopefully you will enjoy it, and then I'll see you on the other side.
We're in attack position now, sir.
Hold here.
We're not going to attack.
I have my orders from the Emperor himself. He has something special planned for him. We only need to keep him from escaping.
What's interesting is that you've done your carousels, and they're really nice because it's really taking advantage of the format of Instagram, right? We all remember when Instagram was basically one picture that was your best picture. Maybe you'd add a filter, maybe you'd add a caption, and then Even then, it was like slower video. You might be able to put up 15 seconds of video, but that's what's best. What I like best about your carousels are they're kind of evergreen. I mean, there's some that talk about a specific thing, but also like after your last one, these have kind of been put to the test for you.
Yeah. So I have always tried to, for the carousel specifically, I've always tried to, cater to, not just my customers, but then also like you and others. I have a soft spot for the sketch artist, right? And so I'm always trying to tailor when I can my content to help somebody, and whether it's a customer or a collector like myself, or it's a sketch artist, it's just, for me, it's we have the post during the week where I'll show cards or whatever, and that's maybe just showing off with air quotes, if you will, and showing folks what cards are available or whatnot. But for me, the carousels have always been aimed at trying to just help people and start conversations, right? And so what you probably don't see from the carousel is I get a lot of private messages, and folks just often they hit me up and it's hey, I'm new to Star Wars cards, I'm scared to death of grading, where do I start? And then I can refer them to one of my carousels. And then I always, not always, but often I always try to coach them into not just looking at what I've got, but then go out and do your own exploration, like search the internet. There's a lot of stuff out there, right? There's YouTube, it's chock full of stuff. So, but yeah, Greg, it's just been, really trying to find, and I get a lot of requests. So it's trying to figure out what folks want to see. And then if I can drum up some facts or something that resembles something concrete about whatever that might be, then I'll put a carousel around it. I try to avoid opinion-only carousels, but often, even the fact-based ones, I find myself feeling like I want to give my opinion, but I also want to hear what others think as well,
Well, and what I've always noticed is like a lot of your posts put up is that it starts that engagement. It's one of those things I always look at, go, man, I should be doing that more, because you always have to think that someone's reading this for the first time. If they've gotten this far, if they've gotten in, then they have an opinion. Sometimes, like, hey, someone may not have seen this, right? We know that the algorithm limits what people see. So a lot of times, if you feel like, am I spamming it? Am I put too many up? You go, no, because time of day, time of week, whoever it's going to put out. And then if you get some engagement and it starts banging around, the ping pong ball starts banging around, then that's the best thing that can happen, because that way you get people talking, and then people see within the thread going, oh, hey, I like what that person's saying. And then they start engaging. And so even at a time where we're not really engaged talking about brand new cards, there's a lot you can do in this space still that's still very fertile.
Yeah, no, you're spot on, man. Like, every once in a while I'll repost old carousels, carousels I've done in the past. And to your point, it's not just the same folks that are seeing this information. You get a lot of new people all the time, and they're starting at the basics, at the beginning, right? So for you and me who've seen my post, we're like, okay, yeah, I've seen that before. But for them, it might be something that, to your point, creates engagement, questions, curiosity. And again, that kind of, when I see that happen and I republish something, or I take a topic that I've done before and I put a new skin on it and change it around a little bit, and I get that interaction, to me, believe it or not, that actually helps motivate me to keep going, right? Because I enjoy doing this, but it does take time, as you know, because you do so much online, and you want to see that it helps somebody. And I feel like if I didn't feel like I was getting that, then I would start to challenge, like, why am I even doing this, right?
Well, and then, and you have said before, you have, a number of passions. You love your Lego sets, and you love your cards. And what I've always kind of liked is like, hey, you said to me, it's like, when I get into something, I don't do it halfway. I get in all. Where the background, what people can't see is a little blurred because of the Zoom call. But you've got these gorgeous, display cases set up with cards and stuff. and they're very well lit. And as we were talking, like just because of the call and the recording, a lot of times you have to kind of keep the fans and the AC off, so that kind of brings the temperature up in what already is a hot summer day. But I am curious, as we've kind of gotten into a bit of a lull, and I know it'll start ramping up. When you go into your room, maybe this is your comfort space and all that. Do you find yourself sort of rearranging and kind of revisiting a lot of these collections that maybe when it was super busy you didn't really have time to look at?
I do. And yeah, actually, it's funny you say that, because I have been doing some swapping around. And so, whereas maybe, a year ago when there was so much crave for content, I was putting out stuff every day and spending a lot more time planning my content. I backed off that a little bit. The demand has died down a little bit, but yeah. And so it's funny you mentioned that, because for the last few weeks, I've actually started to run into a problem where I'm running out of space. And so my Lego wall, which is opposite, I'm facing it, it's full. My figures are here, that's full. I have cards on 2 other walls, and then on the corners, and Greg, I'm running out of room, man. So for me, I'm looking at paring down what my chases are, and I'm going to have to shed a few cards to really stay focused on my passion. So I'm really working on the 2021 Galaxy, and I've got 3 separate parallels I'm chasing. I've almost got all the atomics. I'm getting close on the prisms, and then I'm working on the Mojos. And that's, as you know, that's an SGC 10 gem set. I'm only keeping the gems, but my other passion is I think you'll appreciate this one. I think you're a fan of this set, but I really enjoy the 2019 Legacy. And so I'm working on the blacks, and I really haven't shared that with anybody, but there were 200 cards, not the comic covers or the other, posters and whatnot, but just the base set. There were 200 cards there. So the blacks have been a challenge, because they run anywhere from, $25 to, I guess I paid $55, but for me, just chasing Galaxy 2021, the 2019 blacks, and then my sketch collection, which is really that entire wall right here. Wow. Next to me, I'm out of room, man. So I'm having to pull some other things out, including Galaxy 2022 and 2023, and either stow it away or, shed some of it. It's just, I only have so much room, and my wife will not tolerate me taking over any more of the house. So I can't do that.
It's a great, it's a bad problem I had, but it's a good problem to have as well. But it's a great topic for discussion, because, I ran into, when I first got back into, I was getting, a lot of sets. Anything that was out there, I'm picking it up, binder, and I start, you go from one binder and all of a sudden I have 20 binders. And the thing that I started to kind of last year was to start to archive. And some of that's tough, especially when you have it on display. Like right now, my binders are set where I've got a certain amount and I can reach them, and they're grouped, vintage and whatnot. But I like having that access to them. I don't like having them in the archives. I mean, it's a necessary evil, but it means I don't go past them. I don't see them. And it's really, if I have to want to try to look for something, then I have to dig for it. And I think it's a great exercise to go, what is really not just important to you at the moment, but what's really something you want in your collection that you said, not only was it a fun chase, that's part of it, but it's a fun keep.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And I think you're hitting at this too. And just because you swap things around doesn't mean you have to exit those cards either. You could just put them aside for a bit and maybe rotate them in later. But for me, man, I mean, again, I'm a huge sketch fan, and so what I think may happen within the next couple of years is I have a hard time getting rid of sketches. So as my sketch collection grows, that could compromise my Galaxy chase or my Legacy chase. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, and I'm I'm too much of a Lego fan to dump that. And, I look at my figures over here and I guess maybe some of that could fall victim to, space issues. But for me, we talk about just because some of your prized possessions, for me, I think it's probably my sketches. Right behind that is Galaxy 2021. And because I think it was such an iconic set, and being able to look back and feel like I have, I'll be one of a very short list of people that have at least the atomics in a gym,
Wow.
with SGC. But if I can get the prisms, I'm pretty sure there's not very many people, if anybody has that. And then the Mojos is in a class by itself. So for me, that's like, I don't think I'll ever stop appreciating the chase for the 2021, but it'll be tough as the sketch collection grows. It's going to be, what do I want to put away? But like you said too, just putting stuff aside, maybe not getting rid of it, but putting it aside and then rotating it back in later. That's probably a good option too.
Well, it's interesting. You did sort of experiments on, and help me out with some of the UV, right? Or I guess,
yeah.
Can you talk about what was the goal behind doing those tests, and what were your concerns, and what were some of your findings? I know that's a lot for a question, but I was kind of curious.
Yeah.
Starting at, once you had that stuff out, I'm assuming that you were concerned with the light and what would happen to the sketch.
Yeah. So I was fascinated. I was just fascinated with the science of the UV, and I am fortunate because when I built this room, I actually did drywall over the window, and I keep it closed off. So there's literally zero sunlight. I guess maybe some might sneak in under the door just a little bit, but
sure, there's
not really any sunlight coming in here. But and even though the LEDs are low output, there's still some risk there. So for me, originally, it was somewhat selfish motive. I'm like, let me go back and test some of the claims that the One Touch companies were making with their product, and let me validate whether or not they actually do protect at the level they did. And when I started buying these and then kind of checking them, I'm like, man, heck, I can make carousels with these.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of kept doing that, but at the same time, I also went on a grading streak, and so I've got a huge stack of One Touches starting to kind of pile up that were used. But as more and more of my non-sketches get graded, I'm getting more and more One Touches. And unfortunately, I think you may have seen my SGC UV test results. At least the slabs that I tested a few months ago, they had very low UV protection. So, whether I should have kept them, in a One Touch, or if I, made the right decision to grade, whatever. But I am starting to amass a huge collection of used One Touches. But yeah, it just started with my own curiosity and trying to protect my cards. But then I felt like, since I have this tester and I do these carousels, why don't I do something and just, write down my results? And now I've graded like 5 different companies, and the Ultra Pro are 100%. Slab Mags 100%, Ultra Pro, the Phantom display, the big giant glass looking Phantoms. Those are amazing for UV protection. And most everybody else I've tested, PSA, Beckett, SGC, a slew of One Touches. They're not anywhere near 100% for right, wrong, or different.
Well, and what's interesting is that, you have this, after you've done this tough chase for whether it's a sketch, whether it's, like a one-on-one and so forth, there's that natural inclination not to just, you break it open however you got it, and then you either like, man, I'd like to have this out. And as you're saying, like, space is a premium. I'd love to have it here, but you also hate to think that you're damaging the very card that you sunk a lot of time, sunk a lot of money in, have it up. It's like, in some cases, all of us have those, whether it's a shelf, whether it's a wall, whether it's a room of that. And you'd hate to think that you're, the reason that some of these things probably lasted as long as they did the old vintage stuff is because they were in a box in a nice dry cool place. And now that I'm having these gorgeous displays, you're like, oh my gosh, am I ruining them? It's a it's a tough, argument you're going to have with yourself, but I do maybe like the idea of maybe rotating stuff in and out, not necessarily because I'm tired of looking at it, but I go, you know what? I'm also helping that I'm not keeping something out, because you never think, that poster that you have on the wall that you got when you were so forth, you never really notice it go drastically different color one day, but you look 20 years later and go, well, the colors don't pop on it as much as it used to.
Oh man, you're like, so first off, the sun will destroy your stuff, right? Like, I've got numerous examples. So I bought, I had this really nice piece that was done by Gary Kurtz, and it was all the original Stormtroopers signed it, and then he signed it right in the middle, and then he stamped it. There were like, it was numbered, like it was like one of 300 that he did. And I bought this years ago at a celebration, and it's probably, I mean, it's probably that high, that wide. Wow. Like and I had it forever, for probably 3 or 4 or 5 years. I had it in just a basic frame with plastic in front of it. And these are all autographs. And I had it in my office. My office is full sun.
Oh.
And just like you said, it wasn't any month or year. It's the culmination of many years. And you look up at those autographs and they're light and faded, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing this. And that's one of my favorite pieces. I just love the Stormtroopers, and the fact that he got them all signed, and now I think they're starting to pass away. There were 12 or 13 original Stormtroopers. There weren't very many.
Oh, wow.
But in any case, so I immediately, a couple of years ago, got it behind museum glass, which is close to 100%. And then I UV'd my windows. And so I feel really good with that decision. But even then, I'm super paranoid about the sun. So I would encourage anybody, which is a lot of people, that don't have things boxed, and if they don't have their cards isolated off in a sun-proof room that literally doesn't have any sun that can get in, I encourage you to do something like get an Ultra Pro. The Pro molds are like 80%, give or take UV, but the Ultra Pros are 100%. And so if you put your goods in that, you're going to get just about the best protection. And if you're a big grader, then, if you can afford it or swing it, look at the slab mags, or look at something else that you can put that's a UV, protective coat, because the sun just doesn't care, man. It will shred your stuff and lighten it up. And like you said, over years, you'll look at it, 5 or 6, 7 years later, and you'll be like, what the heck happened to my card? So I'm hypersensitive to that, Greg.
No, and even I know a lot of my friends who will get posters signed, and it's very common now because everybody's hitting the convention circuit, where you'll get like, say, a Rebels poster that's signed by all like the people who did the voice work, or you'll get like that, and you'll take these posters year after year, and for the most part they'll probably spend a good chunk of their life maybe in the poster tube. But you'll have that inclination to, hey, I want to have this on my wall, or I just finished it, right? I got that last signature I was looking for, and I'm going to put it up. But now I like the idea of, after you've done all that, after you've taken all that time, spent all that money on those, that getting something like museum glass or something that coats it so that you can enjoy it, or just getting it into a place where there's not direct sunlight or indirect sunlight that's hitting it. And I know a lot of people that have, their Star Wars rooms, and sometimes when I talk to them, the curtains are down and things like that. You don't think about that when you buy a house or you're doing this kind of stuff. But if you got collections of stuff,
even those curtains will mislead you, man. Like you said, indirect sun can kick your butt too. So, protect those cards. And I remember having figures on the wall. We all did that. At some point in time, we had to hang our boxed Star Wars figures on the wall. And of course, what happens to them? They start to turn colors and brown, and it doesn't even take that long, a year or two tops, if it's in direct sun. And so I'm a huge fan of UV protection for anybody, man. Protect your stuff.
Something that I started doing a couple years ago, and maybe you might be sort of in a similar place where, typically in the past, I've always been about chasing a set builder, base chaser, what have you. But with Finest, I said, you know what? Some of these come on top. I would focus on like a rainbow set of SIGs, or I would do something. You're talking about, the Atomics are going after some of the 10s, the SGC 10s. I like that idea of getting a hyper focus, because I think that's a nice way to attack releases that may come on top of each other, or to go, am I going to keep chasing this, or what am I really looking for? What I'm saying is that the people that ask you, or yourself, like, you start to have to ask yourself, what is it about this set that I am looking for?
Yeah. So let's pick on Galaxy 2024. So, so you may or not have seen some of my, more recent carousels, but I'm actually pretty excited about 2024 compared to the last two releases. 2021 will always be my, table stakes, my go-to for Galaxy. I can't imagine a future set that tops it. But what I am most excited about with 2024 is bringing back the full bleed, right? And then just the borderless. Now, granted, let's not be naive and think just because it's full bleed, it's going to be guaranteed center. That's not true too. But for people like me with OCD, when I see a border that's off center, that pops out at me a lot more than if I've got a full bleed, borderless card. It doesn't mess with my my OCD as much, and I just think the full bleed's a cleaner card. And for whatever reason, I felt like the card stock itself suffered a little bit in 2022 and 2023. I felt like 2021 was a thicker, meatier, harder, more durable card. And again, maybe the science out there will prove me otherwise, but I'm most excited about the full bleed, and then some of the other things that they've talked about, and I'm trying to remember now. But there were a couple of other things that I felt like they were introducing for the first time, some chases that they had not previously done. And for me, they were on the level of like the Kybers, and I'm trying to remember what they were. They might've been metal. Does that ring a bell for the 2024 set? There was something, but in any case, it sounded like to me it was going to be a chase and something a little different. So that piqued my curiosity. But we'll see. The challenge I'm going to have with Galaxy 2024, 2025, 2026 is the same one we talked about earlier. And that is just, outside of rotation, we're going to run out of room, and it'll be hard to continue to keep it up. But, I guess we are Star Wars card geeks, and we'll probably keep buying it. Even if we don't have space for it, we'll figure something out, right?
Well, what's also interesting is that the packs, the amount that goes into a case, goes into a box, goes into a pack, has sort of lessened. I want to say that last year's there weren't that many cards allocated per, and with the cost kind of going up. So something that I'm like, if you're interested in trying to chase a full set, it's tricky. You're going to have to go way in on cases. So it's a set that it's a release that may lend itself for, I'm looking for specific kinds of chases. But I also think that with smaller amounts, and I've also got Chrome Sapphire Phantom Menace on the brain, where, these are smaller ones that you really kind of have to rely on your channels, the people that you follow, the secondary channels you follow, the whatnots and whatnot, to help fill that gap. Because otherwise you could be making, there's going to be some pent up demand, and everyone's going to really lay down on probably the first release that comes out, whether it's Galaxy or not. But then something's going to come up right behind it, and you're going to be like,
yeah.
Oh. So I think you'd almost, you have to kind of really pay attention when the details start coming out. Really pay attention to how many cards you're getting it and how much you want to budget yourself, because and think about what you're trying to chase, because it's not as simple as buying that one hobby box. You get a full set, you get a couple of chases, maybe you get an auto. It's not going to be that simple anymore.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on, man. Every one of us has a budget, or we should, right? Present company included. And there's just so much to chase. And it's, for me, it's impossible to chase every aspect of a set, even in every set. And then the other thing you said, which I agree with, is, the longer in the year they wait to deploy these sets, to your point, they're going to back up against each other. So right after they drop 2020, if 2024 is first, which maybe that makes sense to me, actually. So if they drop 2024 and they come around and then drop Masterwork right behind that, or set XYZ, I mean, what are we going to do? We just spent, thousands of dollars on a couple of cases of 2024. And to your point, every one of us should have a budget. I think the breakers won't have a problem, right? They'll continue to be able to buy boxes, but we, that are maybe more private collectors that don't want to spend $300 per night on a break, trying to chase cars. It's going to be hard to have the budget to continue to pursue sets. And Greg, I don't know. I do have this question for Topps. Like, why would they wait? And are they just behind on design? Are they behind on QA? Are they trying to make sure that what they release, the quality has been, lifted up? But if and when they come out with all these sets back to back, that's going to be a real challenge for most of us, myself included, to be able to support them all. What about you? Are you in the same boat?
Yeah, and I really sort of wish that we'd seen. Now, last year they introduced that flagship for the first time, which you can say ho hum. It wasn't exact. It's not gonna bring down the house, but I thought it was a great way to have something that was on the shelf. It's kind of timeless. I almost wish they could have done 200 instead of 100. Can you imagine that? So, for example, Topps Baseball, you have Series 1 that comes out, 350, I think, and then Series 2 and then traded. I thought that would be great for Star Wars, because you could have a 2024 Series 1. Let us chase that throughout the year while you're waiting to really get us something big. And that way, if I go into Target, or if I have, got a bonus at work or something, I could rip a box, and we could kind of be chasing that over the summer. And then it's not something that I really I'm worried about finishing anytime soon. Just give me a nice slow burn chase. I like some of the parallels that they had. And in that way, that kind of gets your juices flowing for something really big to drop. And I think that would be showing the difference, right? Because flagship was in retail, and you had the jumbo boxes, and then you had a hobby or whatnot. But I like something that kind of keep going, because I've honestly seen more Marvel product in stores than I have Star Wars since last year. But yeah, I think if you're going to make us wait. And I don't know why because on a typical year back, you would have like a signature release, and you'd have something in March, and you have, so we would, in the old days, you'd have 2 or 3 releases already, but they'd be different ones, right? There'd be some that would be like, you get 1 card per box, boom, stellar signatures or whatever it is. And then you'd have something. So I would kind of hope to have something like that. And then as you kind of maybe get through the summer and the fall, then you go, all right, we're going to release Galaxy, or we're going to have a Topps Chrome, or, Finest, any one of those. But then once they kind of get backed up, you go back and you look at like Topps Chrome or Finest, you start to go, they really look similar. They're portrait based. They're not, these are not like going after a certain property like a Disney Plus show or something. You start to go, what really differentiates one from another if they're right on top of each other?
Yeah, I mean, what a great question, and I don't see how. And again, we're Topps would have to be guilty of actually having a plan for this to play out, like you said, right? But I don't see, unless they don't have a product strategy or they're behind, I don't see how doing what they're doing plays into their hand. I mean, if 75% of us have budget constraints, and we're blowing all of our money on the next product that comes out, surely they understand we can't continue to sustain, buying every single release over a 4 or 5 month period. So for me, it tells them they're behind or they don't have a plan, and neither one of those is really collector focused. So I'm a little worried about that. But I like what you suggested, and if they could give us just a couple or 2 or 3 layers of product rolled out, something we can kind of chase, that has hobby boxes and Target or Walmart, to your point, all year long to kind of fill in the gaps, and we can get that cheaply, start a couple of chases, and then kind of, spread out your more premier sets. I mean, to me, that's pro collector, and then it's also, a good business strategy. But I really don't understand what they're doing right now. And I was worried, and I'm glad I was wrong. I was worried that they were going to end the masterwork because of all the overhead that's required in getting the on-card signatures and all that. And I was absolutely worried that was going to happen. And they surprised me in a good way, right? Because, Masterworks came out as a great set. We got to see some really beautiful cards, including Rosario Dawson. But yeah, Greg, I mean, if they could come up with a strategy for their product rollouts and stick to it, and maybe even, a year or two out from now, we as a collector can go, oh, in a year and a half or 2 years, their March release will have blah, blah, blah. We can start saving for some of those products.
Well, two things are going to come up here in a couple weeks it's going to be super interesting, and I would say collectors and all of us should keep an eye on. One is San Diego Comic-Con, which there has typically been either some kind of very small chase, a small set either released there. I think last year they did Finest. It was either San Diego or New York where they let Finest out. I think it was Finest. They sold it. They did some sales on the spot.
Okay.
The other thing is that the National's coming up at the end of the month. And it would really kind of stink. I'm going to be able to, I think, go for a day. I think I'm going to do a day trip. But it would really kind of, like, hey, they're going to have, like, if it's like last year, they had their card wall. They had, things up with product. It was a big booth last year. And then in years past where they had, like, these little bunt stations or something where you could, at Celebration had these little stations you could create a card or whatever not. But it would kind of stink if there wasn't any product there, unless they just brought something they're just trying to get rid of. So I would hope that maybe with one of those two, even if I'm not going to both, would have some kind of exclusives that maybe we could see come up. Somebody get them and throw them out there so at least we can break them so I can at least see what they are. And then if I want to decide to chase them later, I can, like with the Sapphires, I can kind of go after them and kind of get an idea or an idea of what I want to do. But I would really hope that I would not see both of those go by and nothing happens on the Star Wars front.
No, that's a great point. And wasn't it the San Diego? I feel like it was San Diego that came out with the 2022 promo cards. If that sounds right, there was a light blue. Like, remember Obi-Wan versus Vader? There was like a light blue promo, which I have that card. But that's a good point. So the last couple of years, they've come out with a promo, both the San Diegos.
I want to say that, and that, like I said, the years start to blend together, but I think they have used San Diego and New York as opportunities to release something, whether it's big or small, I think, or at least a pre, like a pre, sale, as it were, just because, or show exclusives and whatnot. And I would like, even like with Celebrations, having a little bit out there. I think Card Trader had a booth at Celebration. I know Star Wars card. I think Topps Digital did have something at New York Comic Con last year, because it's in New York. But I would love, I'm definitely going to go past that booth, definitely see what's going on, get your selfie and whatnot. But I would love to see a little bit of Star Wars there. I know with the take a card, leave a card, I always take some Star Wars and kind of like going, like there's 500 baseball cards of it, and then like one Star was like, you got to have at least one. But at any rate, but yeah, it's just, if your booth's out there and the National's big and it's going to have all, your Fanatics will be there, Upper Deck will be there, all those ones there. I just want to see more than just baseball in the Topps booth. We're still a little bit away from Panini getting rid of, not having the NBA and NFL, and Topps kind of, ingesting some of it because of the sale, or because of the agreements and whatnot. But I'd really hate to see them both go by and nothing happened, or at least an announcement that they're going to do, like I know that they did at the Topps conference. I know they talked about those things, and but I want to see some movement and see some of the places like Cardboard Connection and Beckett. Actually, I want to see it on the calendar, man. That's what I want.
Yeah, me too, man. And that's not too much to ask. Not too much to ask.
Going back to Galaxy. So you talked about, I love the idea of a full bleed, because that kind of harkens back to not so much, I think, the first, but some of the successive releases where it goes that. But what would you like? Have you had a chance to go back and see some of the earlier sets, or are there artists that you would love to see in Galaxy that you haven't seen as of yet?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I don't know if there's artists that I haven't seen yet, but rather maybe there are several artists that I would like to see more. I'll be honest with you, like, I don't think it'll ever happen, but I would even be okay with, a couple of boutique artists having the whole set. You know, if they could come out with, you know, I'll pick on, you know, Jerry Vanderstelt, right? His work is just out of this world, quite literally, and he's got so many beautiful Galaxy 2021 cards. And there are a lot of artists that do. I'm picking on Jerry, but there are many. But how cool would it be, kind of like with the Carlos and the Chris, doing the living set. How cool would it be to have just maybe a one or two artist focused set that just really puts out their you know, basically make, you know, print runs of their work, and then maybe they just dominate the sketches, the one of ones. So you literally, and you could, in Tops, they could charge a premium for that. Like, I as a collector, if I know it's loaded but with nothing but, you know, again, we'll pick on Carlos and Chris, they could charge a premium for that. You know, if you're getting all their work in print, and then you're going to get, you know, up to one of one sketch of theirs per box, they absolutely could charge a premium for that. I'm not saying it would be like stellar premium necessarily, but they could charge more. They're, you know, and the breakers would love that too. And then if you are one of the people like myself that actually goes on to a break and not just breaks, but goes on to break and buys, that would be a price point that you could get into. You know, you can just buy a few packs at a higher premium. You don't have to buy a whole box.
Right.
And so I would love to see that. Just kind of, you know, maybe cherry pick a couple of artists and focus in on them. And again, I thought the living set was a wonderful thing that was very successful. But then let those artists dominate the sketches for that set. And that might take a few years to build up the stock and inventory, right? Because, you know, only a couple of artists doing all the work, but I don't know, Tops, razzle and dazzle us with something like that.
I love that idea of also, because if you made some hay with that and you said, hey, we're going to come out with like a special Galaxy one where we're going to take like the old, you know, Marvel masterpieces where it was, you know, Joe Juiceco and all that, where you take that and you go, it's not going to come out till next year, but you had a whole year of just really pimping that one, and you could release a promo card here and there. That's what I love about those old 90s sets, is they were promo crazy. You know, really up until I would say the early 2010s, you were still seeing a promo card here and there, but you could really make some hay with that. And, you know, I think, you know, like that 2021, throwing some chrome on it, you know, you don't have to throw chrome on everything, but I do like, make a good looking card, make a really nice card that I want to chase, that I would say, hey, even if a full box, I love that idea. I love what you're saying. Even if a full box is not out of my price range, I want some of that. I want to have one in my hands to take a look at it, or I'm going to chase a particular card or character. Maybe I'm going to rainbow that where I don't have to worry about, you know, like nobody on the Marvel side's really concerned with doing sets anymore. There's too many tiers, it's too big, but you can always say, like, I can either go after a character or I can go after a particular, I was lucky enough to pull a rainbow, but I think the other thing that we're missing, now I know that, you know, like Mama Breaks and all the breakers are still doing breaks of, but there's that community of folks that get in on these breaks that go, you know what? It's just kind of fun to be there. I get to see this stuff pulled. I've got a piece. I got a piece in the game, but that's what is really kind of lacking without product now, because that does kind of drive the bus. People can kind of go back and fill in like what you're doing with 2021 Galaxy, but just give me something to open. That's why I've been excited about this Star Wars Unlimited. It's, you know, it's a game I'm enjoying kind of learning it and playing it. But I felt when I got a pack the other day, I'm like, I don't want to keep this to myself. When was the last time I got to break a pack? I'm going to definitely put this on Instagram just because I'm like, this is neat.
That's cool. And there's some neat, you know, you mentioned that game, like those showcases are no joke, right? They're rare, they're collectible, they're gradable. And so I love the TCG side of it because it's a very playable game. And then there's a high collectability to it too. So no, I think they've done a really great job with that set. And you know, maybe Tops can even pick up on a few things and maybe even integrate some of the techniques into their own cards. I don't know.
Well, and the other thing is that they're giving artist attribution. So at the bottom of those cards, now it's interesting because most of those I've never heard of. I know a lot of the early ones I got, I was like going on Instagram and kind of looking for the artists, and some were and some weren't. But I was saying, like, this is a great opportunity because, you know, there was a different look for the set. It was a little more comic booky, which is great. I don't have a problem with it. Like, it looks really nice. And then, yeah, you have these different variants. And so very much like what we're used to seeing, there's your standard one, there's your foil, there's your hyperspace foil. And then they had the showcase, which, the new product just rolled out. July 12th was the release of Shadows of the Galaxy. And they're going to do this like a normal TCG will do, several releases through the year. But what's nice is that's a great entry point, because then throughout the year, okay, now I know I should probably get it if I'm going to do a pre-order or a pre-release, and these cards exist. They're still going to be very valuable. And you're right, they're very gradable. It's kind of fun, and then you can get the common one and play with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Greg, is it true? I think it's Fantasy Flight, right? And they're all in on this genre. Like, they're not working on anything else right now, I think.
Well, they have Fantasy Flight has different categories of games. They do miniatures and whatnot, but they had, for the longest time, they had living card games, and then back in 2016, they had Destiny, which was a foray into the TCG, where before, with a living card game, everything was it. They released a new, subset of the game. Everybody had access to all the cards. You could get it. But with a TCG, right? You collectible card game, there's boosters, there's things like that. Yeah. And they had the Destiny license for about 5 years. It came with dice, so it made it a little more cumbersome. Although I don't think the game itself was that hard. Anytime you introduce like another aspect where you have to have that to, it made it hard to you have to bring this tin of dice. With Unlimited, it's the cards. They do have like little counters, and I went to Etsy and got some custom made ones because it was support a maker. But yeah, and then I made my own mat, and it was great because then I got to go to this draft event. We were cracking packs. You take one, pass it either side, and so it was really nice because everybody got to participate. And then I got my clock clean for three games. I picked up my pack, but there was a little 3-card weekly pack, and that had kind of this IG-88 that I hadn't seen. It was this red border. I'm like, that's what I'm interested in, is these special cards that you can't get, that maybe long after my interest maybe has waned on this. That one I know I got something with. It's not a common. Someone said to me, it's like the problem is I'm old enough now, or the print on these, the guy who's like next to me going, dude, you passed me a legendary, right? I'm like, I can't read this. It's like I need a magnifying glass to look at this, and I'm like, oh. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, with nothing else out there, you get excited about something, and there's the aspect of going to a place, if you have a local card shop, and just talking with a bunch of new folks and getting down and playing with, and then you go, it didn't really feel hyper competitive. And so you talk about the social aspect of whether or not you're doing these breaks. It's like, this is an aspect of the community that's important. Otherwise, it's you alone, the cards, and that may be fun. That if that works for you, great. But there's such a social aspect, whether you're doing it online in a break or in person, that is so important.
No, I 100% agree, Greg. Like, we got to build the community, and there's a number of ways to do that. And then to your point, the TCG is a great way to do it. Like in person, it's because even with the social media, and you record a story or reel or whatever, it's still just one way. You're projecting out, right? Like you're by yourself and you're blasting it out there and hoping that once somebody watches it. But there's nothing like, to your point, being side by side and actually literally exchanging cards, having fun, interacting, talking Star Wars. So no, that's exciting. I'm so glad they came out with that and came up with something that folks seem to want to play.
Do you think you'll still be? I mean, do you think sketches are still kind of the big thing that you collect, as well as the 101s, or do you think now, having had a little time between releases, what do you think is the number one thing that you are gunning for in future releases?
So sketches is what pulled me back into the hobby. Because we talked before, there was that long dark period where I was out of it, raising kids and the whole 9 yards with my wife. But sketches really showed me that this is spectacular. You can own art, from getting into a pack of cards. So I don't think I'll ever, knock on wood, I don't think I'll ever, have something more appealing or exciting to me than finding that one-of-one sketch is just really amazing and getting out of the pack. That being said, I mean, I've talked about this before. I mean, I grade a lot of cards. I don't sell a lot of cards, but I grade a lot. And I'm probably one of the minority that actually likes to grade because I like the thrill of the chase and I like the set build, but I like the pride, I guess it's sinful, but I like the pride of having gems. I like not a 9, not a 9.5. I want 10s, right? And just being able to continue to pursue that. So getting back to what else, I mean, if Topps does like what Marvel has done with like the PMGs, and then, they danced around with it with these Kybers a bit, albeit the Kyber weren't numbered, right? They're just like a refractor, except they're die cut and they weren't numbered. But if Topps can come out with this premium card numbered in a very PMG way, right? Because you had green, red, blue, Marvel PMGs, and then just sprinkle them out, make them very rare, hard to get. For right, wrong, or different, that'd be one way to get my money, right? Because I will get caught up in literally buying cases just to chase those rare relics, those Star Wars versions of PMGs, right? And so I know 2024 Galaxy, I feel like I read something that might be coming or something like that, but that's another reason I'm anxious to see the set. But I mean, if they could just come out with a long-term strategy where over the next 4 or 5 years, you can build these PMGs like Marvel, but with Star Wars, and again, give us a product roadmap and tell us what's out there, we can save for it. And somebody like me, I will chase those rare cards and I will spend lots of money trying to collect them across multiple years of sets. So that would be appealing to me. Outside of that, it's probably going to be sketches for the long run. I'm a huge sketch fan. I can't ever see that really waning.
And I'm wondering, I know that there was quite the hubbub when I know that Topps and Lucasfilm was changing some of the ways they were going to pay out as far as artists doing sketches. And I think seemingly the consensus was that I think it was maybe more Lucasfilm that they were concerned with blanks getting out there that were having, either, that shouldn't have been out there. Maybe they had questionable content, but they definitely weren't, something that had any, it's something that was kind of, there was this almost seeming like a gentleman's type agreement between the sketch artist and Topps, where it's like, all right, you're going to do this set. We're going to pay you very much, but you're going to have a few left over, depending on how many you do, and you'll be able to sell them for what you want. I'm wondering that I know that they've changed the compensation rate. I've heard it's a lot better, but I know that some artists just said, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. I am kind of curious, as someone like yourself that's in some of these communities, do you feel that's going to hurt the sketch value, that maybe some of these bigger players maybe will decide not to be involved because they don't have the flexibility, at least in this product, to do what they used to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, do I think the value of future sketches or even past sketches will be compromised because of those decisions? So, I think, number one, I credit Topps for, to your point, if in fact what we are hearing from some of the artists that they are changing the contracts and they're paying them a little bit more, I do think that's a good thing. I think that's a win. I think it's important for Topps to keep their word. So whatever agreement they make with the artists, they need to focus relentlessly on the artist as if they are a customer and keep their word with that customer. On the flip side, and I mean this, the artist needs to do the same. It's a two-way street, right? Like the artist, if they agree to do 900 cards in 5 minutes for Topps, they better do it, right? And I was being a little metaphorically extreme there, but my point is Topps needs to live up to their end of the deal, and the artist needs to live up to whatever they signed off on, whether it was a good deal or a bad deal. If the artist agreed to it, they got to keep it. And if everybody would just do that, I think that's a great start. But back to your question, so I think there will always be new artists that want to get into the market
Right.
And they're willing to take whatever is being paid, and they will still, whether it's pack built cards or it's, if they bring back the AP cards or whatever, there will still be sketches out there that, collectors like myself absolutely will want to buy and pursue. I think that's never going to change, no matter if the pricing model goes up, down, sideways. I think sketches, to me, have longevity with the product as long as Topps continues to offer them. There'll be somebody out there that will want to do it, that is that artist appeals to collectors, and then they'll have that special card with that special theme, whether it's a Han Solo collector or Princess Leia collector or Darth Maul, and they'll do a really great job on those cards, and that will have high appeal. I don't see that changing ever.
Yeah, and it's tough because you almost have to kind of tell Topps to go, look, we know that's it's a lot of effort, because you also have to get them approved by Lucasfilm. There's this back and forth that, for, let's just say, if you want to make a particular variant, or you're looking for a paper that makes a little more flashier, that's certainly maybe a path of less resistance. But I think that you think that collectors want to see those rare, those one of ones. Not like, back in the day when the sketches first came out and Dave Dorman's doing 50 Obi-Wan sketches, and they're slightly different, but they're not as now unique as, we hit that high water mark, and especially even with the living set where you go, here's where you can really take it, where not only are you getting these amazing artists, but now we're going to feature them week to week. I'd hate to think them backing completely off and going, well, now it just seems that the focus is on the shiny stuff. We'll give them that, and I think that the sketches have made their place in a set, and it's important that look, this is what's out there. And a lot of artists, it's a lot of work. Most of them don't do this as their only job. They do it as a side gig. But I'm like, it is a great way to get your name out there, and your reach as far as like getting into a collector that now your work is chased. You're not just doing commissions. People are seeking for and wanting and pulling your art. It's like you want to be in the game, but you want at least to make some money in the game.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I hope that, enough artists don't get so discouraged that they walk away. And again, it comes down to mutual agreement between Topps and the artist, and both parties being accountable for doing exactly what they said they would do. If everybody does that, then let's move forward, right? But like you said, and I agree with you, like, sketches are just, they've been a part of cards for a generation now. Demand, you're on a lot of the groups and you see it out there. There's a lot of folks like myself that just love sketches. I cannot imagine a future where Topps just abandons them, but we don't even have a product rollout map right now. So who knows, right? Maybe I'm being naive. I have no idea.
Well, yeah. And as we kind of, bring things to a bit of a close, I think this was a time and a place for a discussion like this where, it'll be different once somebody says something and we start getting releases, because then the gears start going and you start going, all right, this is what the first one's out. I see it. I either take a pass or I'm going to save it. So, I think it's a good time for folks to take another look at your collection, see what's going on. Is it time to maybe do some cleaning? Is it time to start making a space for what's coming? There's not a question of what, it's a question of when. And I think at the end of the day, what do you want to collect and how do you want to do it? And how is that, how are your new neighbors going to be dealing with your old neighbors, just like yourself? It's like, it's those tough decisions you got to make. But at the end of the day, I love your hand at Star Wars card crazy. I'm like, we're crazy about the cards. If the worst thing in the world is you're spending some time trying to figure out where I'm going to put them, how I'm going to display them, how I'm going to take care of them, if we have time to do that, we're in a good place.
100% agree. 100% agree. And the last thing you said, like, set a budget, set that budget, make sure you plan accordingly. And that way you don't get in a bind when you need that new set that's coming out, man. because don't be like me and just spend more than you probably should and then regret it later. Just keep spending. Don't be me. Be the guy who plans.
But if that does happen, then definitely pay attention not only your channels, but get in those groups. Look at what's happening on whatnot in some of these other channels. Some of these services may come and go, but like places like ComC and eBay and all that, pay attention now. Like, now's a good time to go. If I have to shed some, if I have to move things around, see what's going on. Like, look, listen to some of the other podcasts, the Wax Pack Hero, Mike Summer, Puck Junk, the hockey stuff, Marvel card collectors. See what these folks are doing, because a lot of them have little tidbits and trips like you're talking about with your carousels to go. We have to start thinking about organizing. We had a lot of fun. COVID was a lot of fun for a lot of folks, but now it's like, all right, if you're in this for the long haul, here's what you want to keep. Here's what you want to take care of. Here's what you really want to take care of, and here's what you may want to let loose. And there's a lot of folks that may help you get that off your hands. And so, at any rate,
100%.
Well,
100%.
So that people can find you online, where can they go, and what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, Greg. So I am an Instagram snob. So you can find me at Star Wars Card Crazy on Instagram. And if you message me, I will most certainly return your message. I try to return every single message that comes to me. But yeah, Star Wars Card Crazy. I'm pretty much only posting cards and carousels right now, and I appreciate your support.
No, it's been great. You've been doing such a great job. I love seeing your involvement in the community, and like I said, some of these groups. And I can't wait for some new product to come out so we can, everything's going to change. New stuff's going to come out, and it's going to be maybe the new hit or it's going to be the new dud, but it's going to be something. And I know we'll all want to kind of be there, cracking packs and talking about the cards, new cards again. So, but
for sure.
Until that time, it's been great having you on. I appreciate you giving me some time, and we'll catch you online.
I appreciate it, Greg. Thanks for inviting me.
Can I offer you a libation to celebrate the closing of our shared narrative?
Hi, this is Mike Summer from the Wax Pack Hero Sports Card Minute, and you're listening to the Rebel Base Card Podcast. Great pull, kid.
Once again, I want to thank my guest, David Dickson, for being on the program tonight. It was a pleasure to have him on and talk a little cards, huh? Also excited for the 2024 Chrome Star Wars release coming up once again on the 9th of August. Sure, we'll be talking about that more in the days to come. All right, busy week. We have got the recording of the Breakfast Pack for the Acolyte Episode 8. That's coming up this Tuesday, and the show probably goes out Tuesday night. And then, of course, we've got the National later in the week. Hopefully, I'll be either giving you some audio from it or kind of letting you know what's going on next weekend. So until then, I'm going to let Card Squadron take it out. We'll talk to you soon.
The Rebel Base Card Podcast focuses on cards, collecting, and the Star Wars community, and appreciates you coming along for the ride.
If you have any feedback for this episode, you can reach out to the program in a number of ways. You can leave a comment on the Instagram post for this episode. You can also DM Greg on Instagram at Rebel Base Card.
Make sure to also follow the Rebel Base Card on Twitter and Facebook at Rebel Base Card. If you want, you can send an email to greg@rebelbasecard.com.
And you can find show notes for this and all episodes on the website rebelbasecard.com. In the Star Wars Card Trader app and just about every other one, you can find Greg at CornFedTech.
The Rebel Base Card uses the hashtag Card Squadron as a way to alert friends about cool cards and recent drops in the galaxy far, far away. It's a great way to bring our community a little bit closer together and help one another finish our sets in time. We collect, communicate, and commiserate. Well, at least when we run out of credits or crystals to spend on our digital collections. Join the fun, even if all the other cool squadron names were already taken. And remember, we collect as one and would be honored if you join us.
And if you are a sketch card artist, or Star Wars artist or collector, cosplayer, and want to talk about your work, your craft or passion, drop Greg a line. I'm sure he'd love to hear your story. You can also help the show by leaving a comment or review on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you got this episode.
Otherwise, the mission is clear. Keep those cards out of the hands of the Empire, and the Rebel Base Card will return soon.
This podcast is not affiliated in any way with Topps, Disney, or Star Wars, nor is it endorsed by Disney or Lucasfilm, and is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All names and sounds and any other related items are properties of their respective trademarks and/or copyright holders here in the U.S. and abroad. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com.
That's it.